All right. And welcome back, viewers, not just listeners this episode, to another episode of Rent-Free History. If you're wondering about the outfits, it kind of ties into what we are doing for the topic for today's episode.
What outfits?
Yeah, what
outfits? Do you have a problem with the way I dress?
No. I came here like this, and I just, it just turned out that you came here
I got out of bed like this,
Yeah. And, everyone got out of bed like this back in the old days.
I feel like everyone should get back to getting out of bed like
this. They should sleep in a cowboy hat.
I have been wearing this outfit for the past hour. The AC is not functioning very well.
Yeah.
But I'm committing to this for the bit,
to be
honest.
I think it's better if we stay in these outfits than keep switching to different outfits, though. Because I feel like that would also be, it's like
just
a whole new
way throughout the episode.
Or just in life. Yeah. We just keep wearing the same outfits.
We'll always come back to this outfit.
Yeah. Kind of like we always come back to the Old West. Because that's our topic today.
Yes, thank you for having me on, by the way.
Yes. I should probably introduce you. Yeah.
It's okay. I'm used to no intros. I could have just gone for another 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's a recurring habit that I have in some episodes that where I just start talking about the topic and then I don't introduce the guest. But yeah. Thank you for being on here, Mr.
I'm Nick Jenkins, co-host of the Let 'Em Watch podcast.
How is the Let 'Em Watch podcast? How would you describe that for people who may not know what it is?
What we do is we run a movie podcast where we don't talk about the movie and we talk about pretty much everything, but whether it comes to comedy, we talk about Israel a lot. We lost a lot of viewers after that. We talk about pop culture shows, pretty much everything you can think of. And obviously I'm co-host with Riley Adams, local comedian, also co-host, and Tristan Andrews, local actor, also.
That's cool.
And you should check it out.
All right.
Watch on Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah.
I got my plug-in, so.
I'm happy you did.
But this is my first time being on the Rent-Free History podcast, so I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our topic.
Let's get straight into it, to be honest. What was the chosen topic?
We are doing the death of the Western. So we are basically going to do a few different segments. For this episode, you might notice that there's kind of interstitials between every 10 or so minutes. So each 10 or so minutes will do a different topic. This topic, the first one we're going to be doing is a bit shorter because how much time we have. But we're going to try to get everything down to 10 or so minutes. And kind of go from there.
Yeah. What is the first topic we have on the Western feed today?
When it comes to Westerns, we're going to talk about how the Western ruled everything. Early Hollywood, Hollywood begins, with movies, of course, begin in 1895 with the classic, train, right, going through the station that everyone thought was going to come through the theater and run them over. And that period of time is a little after the Old West, that we know of,
because it was legend. The 1890s?
Yeah, 1890s.
Right after that it peaked, because the Old West kind of had its heyday from, we'll say the 1850s, maybe 60s, going up until the 1885, 1890.
Yeah.
And obviously that kind of declined a lot with the invention of modern technology.
Pretty much. As soon as they started putting gates on ranches, that's when the West kind of ended. And but people, nostalgic hits pretty hard, as we've seen nowadays, and people love the Old West because
it's interesting that was kind of what was nostalgic for them. Back in the day,
It's kind of Happy Days is also nostalgic for people in the 70s because by that point they had gone through everything in Vietnam and they were just ugh. Now that that's over,
I think it all comes down to obviously whichever generation is kind of the decider as far as what culture is most popular.
Pretty much.
That's kind of why we're seeing a revival of 80s. 80s nostalgia right now, I would say.
And I think 90s and 2000s is probably next.
And that's coming on its cusp as well.
Yeah,
we're still in the 2000s.
Yeah, never left them. But Westerns in American mythology, you have, your figures like John Wayne, a literal folk hero in these films. And you have that classic archetype of a cowboy, and he represents masculinity, independence, freedom, those American ideals. And then you always have like good guys and bad guys.
Everything is clearly defined.
Yeah.
As far as like, and we're talking about like the first, like the onset of like the Westerns, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not only in film, but also TV, of course, as well, because you've got your films like John Wayne, you've got The Searchers, you've got True Grit. But then you've also got it on TV. You've got Gunsmoke, which ran for 20 years. Yeah, Bonanza ran for also close to 20 years. You've got Rawhide, which is how Clint Eastwood.
Everyone knows that's kind of where he made his bones, so to speak.
And, it's families kind of watching, like becoming accustomed because, they would make 40 episodes of like a TV show, like back then.
Very serialized as well. Just, you know what to expect every week.
Pretty much. And there's this like myth of the Old West, like there's no past, no baggage, you can reinvent yourself, like outlive your sins and stuff like that. And you can kind of do whatever you want. It's like
it's a bit of like a free for all almost.
Pretty much.
A blank slate is good. I mean, and even that's kind of like an archetype you see a lot in like westerns and whatnot. Like the old like criminal or villain or gunslinger, I should say, who's trying to like go to a new town, like be a new man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And then with your like I said earlier, your good guys and your bad guys. The good guys were always the Cowboys. The bad guys, Native Americans. Like they were always seen, and that was like back when that manifest destiny idea was still pretty big,
Like we're destined, like kind of like these are our people to like control.
Yeah. Like Jack Nicholson said in The Shining, the white man's burden.
Completely just out of pocket.
It had nothing to do.
I think my favorite bit of like little character building is like his blatant fucking drop of the N-word when he's in the bathroom with Lloyd.
Yeah,
there was no reason for that to be in the movie.
Yeah. But I just like to imagine because it was the guy who played Lloyd was the one who said it, and I wonder if he went up to Kubrick. He's like, "So, I had a question about page 16." He's like, "It'll make sense. Like, trust me, it'll make sense." But indigenous people reduced to villains. Violence was thought of as noble and necessary to like control what they saw as savages at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Westworld?
Westworld, the movie or the
both? Actually,
I saw the movie.
You should watch the show. Only the first season, though.
Yeah, I heard that a lot about
really
that
touches
show.
On a lot. I think you would get a lot out of it.
Okay.
If this sort of thing is of interest to you.
Okay. Well, we will have to check that out, Westworld. But yeah, basically this cowboy era, Western era is just like America is a place where like problems are solved either within 30 minutes or an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
They're solved cleanly and there's like a happy ending. And
but everything's just wrapped up,
perfectly. Yeah.
And everyone is kind of reduced down to like basically like two dimensions.
Yeah.
From the little of like the old like 30s and 20s westerns that I've seen, which are very little to be honest. But
and there's the peak of like that like kids want to be cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Like you don't see a lot of that after like even like the 50s, 60s, 70s. I'd say like the 70s are probably where you stop seeing like that sort of idolization, and you could blame a lot of that on obviously like that generation just kind of like aging out of it.
Yes.
I always thought that was very interesting, though.
Yes. And, of course, this like kind of like idealized version of cowboys in America in general, starts to fade as the cracks begin to, how you say, slow down, or cracks begin to show. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I think you made a note of that somewhere in one of the segments as well, where a lot of this is post, a lot of that idealism is like post World War II, and I thought that was very interesting.
Yep. And we'll get to there on the next segment. All right, and we're back.
We're still here.
We're still here.
I was thinking a little bit about how it took us like an hour and a half just to like set up.
Yeah. Kind of funny.
I was beginning to like wonder because historically on my podcast we've always had like a lot of like technical issues. Like we've lost like entire episodes.
Yes, I was like on one of those episodes.
You were on one of those episodes. Yeah. Probably one of the worst losses I've ever experienced on the pod, to be honest. But,
Well, in my opinion, I think one of the worst losses was the Library of Alexandria.
No, they rebuilt that.
Really?
Yeah, and it's in Minecraft.
Oh, okay.
They didn't get any of the knowledge back.
Okay. Well,
it's a very apparently a very accurate, like, 1-to-1 depiction.
Wow, so. That's beautiful. But sometimes things burn and you can't rebuild them in real life. Kind of like the facade that was the American cowboy in the myth of the Old West.
Beautiful transition.
Thank
you. Beautiful.
So
yeah, but bring it in. Like, what's the next topic?
So World War II, that's the time where everyone's seen as like, these are the heroes and these are the villains, very clearly outlined. But then Vietnam, Korea, those two wars, they kind of like muddy the waters a little bit. We're not sure.
We were still the good guys.
Huh?
We were still the good guys.
Oh, in Vietnam?
Yeah.
Oh. I think it depends
I think we were always the good guys. What kind of podcast are you running here, Candy? I did mean to ask, I'm not to breach you off topic here, but I did mean to ask, like, what kind of prompted you to start the idea of this podcast?
Oh, yeah. We can talk about that a little bit. Yeah, we can come back to this. So I did a podcast originally that you were on. I mentioned this in the first episode.
What was the name of it?
It was called Adulthood.
Adulthood.
Yeah.
It's kind of about what, like, discussing, like...
Yeah, it was going to be like each episode would have a new guest on, and they just like talk about their like experiences with like realizing that like they're no longer like a kid that can just kind of...
So it's really just kind of talking about that transition from childhood to adulthood and kind of how they felt reflecting upon their experiences.
And I thought like the first few episodes were a little like rough, but like I could see where they were going somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I remember I just started like not being able to get on new guests. So it'd just be you or just a couple of our other friends would just be on over and over and over again. And then the podcast just like plateaued into something else. And then I just realized like, oh, this is like really far away from what I really wanted it to be. And then I also like, I also think I need to be a better like producer in terms of like making the podcast. And
I remember that very distinctly. We're in your room at the house you used to rent. And it was like what?
Fullerton.
With the Polish man who was always drunk on the couch. I always have to pass him when we came in, and there was like bottles just littering the floor of the house. And usually like him and his wife were fighting, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was. They say that like hard times create strong men. I think hard times should have created a strong podcast.
Hard times create hard men.
Yeah.
Strong men.
Did I say?
I'm not going to take that where I think it was going. But sometimes I think hard times create a man like John Wayne, who dodged the draft, if I remember correctly.
Really?
But I think so. But looking at him and just reading on like his personal account of like his attitude in his life, I can definitely see that. Yeah. To be honest.
But you know what? He made up for it. He was in a World War II movie because that's the same thing.
So was fucking Elvis. Like, I do want to do like a marathon of all of Elvis's like film career, to be honest, because I've never seen an Elvis movie.
I've only seen Jailhouse Rock. But like it's like one where he's like sent to jail because like he like I don't think it's like involuntary manslaughter or something like that. And then I just remember the scene where he is like dancing to Jailhouse Rock, and it's honestly a pretty cool scene. Like it's very well choreographed, but that's all I remember from it.
Do you ever seen the clips on Instagram of live clips from Elvis's shows where he like unloads an automatic weapon into the audience?
I think I missed those ones.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get back on topic. So.
Yeah.
Vietnam, Vietnam. That was a joke. We were not the good guys in Vietnam.
Yeah. So Vietnam, Americans are a bit less comfortable with like kind of simple heroism, and
it doesn't feel true to life to what we're seeing like on what they're seeing on the television, because broadcast television.
Yeah.
That was the first like
war that was shown on television.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And like I remember, I think it was the Tet Offensive. Like that was the one where they just unloaded on like villages and stuff like that, and it was just like, whoa, what are we actually doing here? Like I thought this was a lot different from like what I heard about.
What do you mean? This isn't like the old like movies they would show me of World War II?
Yeah, basically. And you had that. So people like a lot of people are going to college around this time because like the college has been more readily available, and all the baby boomers are basically like, what are we doing right now? Because people are kind of changing their ideas, and they see these characters on TV, these Rick Daltons, that are on TV on these shows, Bounty Law, Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and who are these guys? Like, this is what I'm watching right now. I'm not going to watch this anymore. And then you have all these like people that are thinking, okay, so if this is not true, what else are they lying to us about? And then you think about all the Native Americans that are in these like Westerns that are
they're essentially like, they're not even like people, like we're just using them as like cannon fodder, almost like
caricatures.
Yeah, like red shirts,
Yeah.
Which I did not know until like the last like 5 years that was a Star Trek reference.
Yes. Because
were you like a Star Trek kid?
I watched like I watched the original series, and then I watched a little bit of the Next Generation, but I just knew that everyone who like wasn't a main character that was a red shirt would be killed off. So
no, that's interesting stuff though. I mean,
yeah. But
what did that lead to the rise of?
Just a lot of movies questioning like their actions, like The Searchers. I mentioned that before. It's more of like a revisionist Western where they're kind of questioning what they did. It's a bit, as the kids say nowadays, problematic. And then you also have a movie called, which is my favorite Western movie in my opinion. It's called Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
You've talked about this quite a few times.
Yes.
I would say a kind of good precursor to this era that I always think about as far as like a prototype almost to like the spaghetti, like more like gritty Westerns that you see in like the 60s and the 70s would be High Noon. Have you ever seen High Noon with Gary Cooper?
Yes.
The strong silent type.
Yes.
No, but that only came out like 50 or 53 or whatever.
Yes. I want to say about that. This is one of the few times where I don't know when a movie came out.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, usually either you can have it usually or I'll come up with it. But it was 50 or 55, I want to say. And that was very early in its time, I suppose, for kind of showing a hero that's like questioning himself, a hero that's not necessarily on the right side. Not even not on the right side of the law, but he's not receiving a lot of support that you would expect like from the townsfolk.
He's essentially human. He's not this like impenetrable guy that just like knows right from wrong.
Yeah, just shoots first, asks questions later. I mean, it's a very like thought provoking film. And I always think about that a lot when I think of like early Westerns that are kind of very modern, I suppose.
Yeah.
Are we wrapping up on time? Technically, we could go until the thing clicks, but I don't know when exactly that would be.
Yeah, we have a little more time. One last point I want to discuss is that heroes are becoming tired, they're becoming violent, and they're becoming aware that the world is moving on without them. And one point on Butch Cassidy, they're known as like this train robber kind of duo, and and everyone kind of sort of loves them in that movie though a little bit, but like they're realizing that their time is over. They're realizing that like they have like new devices to prevent people from robbing them. They have like actual brigades to chase them down, to stop people like them from like kind of doing what they do.
Kind of like in a world that's like outlived them.
Yeah.
Almost. Like they've stayed past their allotted time.
Yeah.
Kind of in the not the pop culture lexicon, but like sort of like it's the end of their era.
I've stayed too long.
Exactly. I know Red Dead Redemption 2 touches on this a lot, which I've not played, but I have watched numerous video essays about.
Sometimes it happens. And for the West, it probably hit harder than any other era, to be honest.
We have not seen a comeback for quite a while on that, to be honest.
Will there ever be? I guess we'll find out on the next segment. All right.
We're still here.
We're still here.
Welcome back.
And so are Cowboys, unfortunately. But I wouldn't say it's...
I don't know if they're going to stay around for that long.
I would say they're on life support.
Mm-hmm.
There's the movie Unforgiven.
It's the perfect capstone to the Western era.
Pretty much. Like a swan song, some would say.
Well, what are your thoughts on Unforgiven?
I thought it was probably Clint Eastwood's probably best acting performance. And I think it's like, it seems a bit more personal than like other films do for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure, I don't know what his attachment is, but like, Rawhide is how he started his career. And he was also in like the Outlaw Jonesy Will. So it's like not like he like forgot, like kind of like started off the Westerns and then just like abandoned them entirely.
No, he's been kind of gradually kind of keeping them on the radar throughout like the entirety of his career up until obviously Unforgiven.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, you had, like you said, you had the Outlaw Josie Wales, he had Pale Rider.
Yes. Paint Your Wagon.
Paint Your Wagon, exactly.
Yeah.
There's one called like Two Mules for Sister Sarah, I believe. And this was all like 70s, 80s post what everyone remembers him for, which is obviously the Dollars trilogy.
Yeah.
So each time I notice, and you can kind of tie this into what you're talking about here, like each time that character sort of has like diminishing returns,
And, it's more of like the movie's kind of like the cowboy sort of saying the cowboy survives, but he shouldn't have. It's saying goodbye to the genre itself. And it was basically the good goodbye, because I can only think probably not on the, like, I probably can't count them, but like since Unforgiven, there's probably been a lot less Westerns, especially Westerns with like that much prestige, because you need like money. Like you're not going to get a Western funded like on your own. I can think of
I would say
Quick and the Dead. I can think of
modern Westerns kind of like morphed almost into like they're less Westerns and they're more like you said, like neo, like they're just straight dramas. I said, but they take a lot of like Western archetypes. Obviously, you can see this in like No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Or they kind of blend them into other genres to kind of make them stand out, such as Bone Tomahawk. Have you ever seen Bone Tomahawk? But I wouldn't say like it's entire. I mean, they no longer have the cultural presence that they did in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and obviously you can chalk a lot of that up to Vietnam. But a lot of it is them, I think, transitioning over into like a new genre, where it's no longer the dominant like force in a film, I would say, or even TV.
I mean, it kind of had to end, just like the Old West had to end. As soon as they put, I think I mentioned that, I can't remember if I said this in an earlier part of the episode or it was, I said this to you before we started recording, but the whole reason it ended is they put gates around the cattle. They ended the Wild West. It just wasn't a thing that they did anymore.
No, everything was like borders were established and whatnot.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just, and again, it's like a shift away from that kind of generation of like aspiring to be like cowboys and like that sort of, because I'm thinking really in terms of my my great uncle, who has like entire rooms full of like Western memorabilia. He lived up in Norco too, which is kind of like another reason, which is kind of like that's just basically California's like little slice of Texas,
pretty much.
But just huge like Old West posters, like I said, memorabilia, or like Old West guns, lots of like signed John Wayne stuff. And I'm thinking about the impact that had on me as a kid, seeing on that, which is like really little to none, to be frank with you, just because I had no frame of reference for that. I wasn't shown the Westerns growing up, I mean, you could chalk that up to, like, say, just like how your parents raised you, or whatever. But I mean, did you grow up watching like a lot of Westerns?
So,
like, what was that perspective like from you? I'm interested in that.
Every now and then, like when I was a kid, like my dad would like be at home, and sometimes he'd be asleep, and like I don't know if he was like watching them previously or like the channel just changed, or not the channel changed, but like the program he was watching changed to something else. But every now and then I'd see him watching like Gunsmoke, and my grandpa also. My grandpa just loved watching a lot of old TV shows because he's from that era. So I would see him watching Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Rawhide. I'm assuming they were on MeTV or something like that, or I don't know, before that, TV Land, something like that.
MeTV.
And I thought it was I never really cared about Westerns when I was a kid either. Like it just like wasn't something that interested me. And I think it's just because like, that original archetype of that lone hero that solves like problems, like all those different archetypes have like gone on to like kind of subgenres of their own. Like it's not just like the initial thing that it was previously. Like for example, you've got like the Western crime story. Like it's mainly just a crime story, but it's like also sort of a Western, No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, and that goes back again to something we were talking about, where it's kind of like disperse itself into other aspects of pulp culture that are more dominant. But you don't see that necessarily as like the dominant force itself in pop culture. And you can see this even with gangster movies like the 80s and the 90s and whatnot,
Yeah.
They kind of And it kind of came of a little bit in the mid 2000s, early 2010s, and you see that genre was put to bed as well by no one better than Martin Scorsese when he did The Irishman, which is kind of like it like the gangster genre's own little like Unforgiven. And so I always tie those two movies together a lot in my head when I think about them.
Then you've also got your space westerns. You got Star Wars. You got Firefly. You've got your neo westerns like Breaking Bad, which a lot of it takes place in the desert.
There's another one, Hell or High Water.
Yes, great one.
Which functionally like is very close to a western, just set like in modern times. I would say.
And that's the best way to do it. You can't just have like a normal like western. Like I actually for a class,
can't because no one wants. I mean, like I wouldn't mind seeing it in person, clearly, but
if it's good, yeah.
If it's good, I'll go and see it. I mean, you got that. You got your gay westerns.
Brokeback Mountain.
I've never seen Brokeback Mountain.
I feel bad that I haven't seen it because I know it's a really good movie. Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's apparently a very good date night movie. To be honest. So Riley said I think he watched it with one of his ex-girlfriends at some point. Tristan watched it with his girlfriend Darlene.
Okay.
And he was saying like it made me like cry and everything. I was like, wow. I would not have thought. I think it just has kind of like a what's the word?
Tearjerker energy.
Tearjerker energy. I think there's the aura of like the idea of what it's about puts a lot of people
just romance and just kind of like fighting for love and stuff like that.
Yeah, true, tried and true themes that should be applied to any and every American, in my opinion.
But then, like as we were talking about, like how like the westerns kind of evolved, TV in a way tried to revive it, and it didn't end up working. At least for not very long. Deadwood, very popular show, only ran 3 seasons, got a movie too, but
Deadwood the movie, and it's like, but that was really the only. It was kind of like an outlier almost. Like it was the only one of its kind. You didn't see like Deadwood, and that leads to like another like Rawhide.
And then you got like your neo westerns, Justified. You've got Yellowstone. You've got Westworld, which is another kind of like sci-fi.
Again, and that's not even like a true western. It's just set in like a western theme, but it's more like a sci-fi like thriller genre. I wouldn't even classify it as like a western, but it does touch on a lot of topics that we just talked about in some of the earlier segments, such as like Manifest Destiny, the kind of like dehumanization of the Native Americans, and stuff like that,
And one last point I want to have on this, it kind of goes to like, I don't think that particularly that setting. I just want to like kind of harp on that again. I don't think that setting is necessarily boring, but I think just like the ideas surrounding it are what caused it to essentially fall apart.
Yeah, that's a good way. It's not. I enjoy westerns. I will watch westerns.
Yeah.
I think like they're not timeless. It's kind of outlived it's not usefulness, but it's outstayed its welcome, I suppose. And I hope eventually we're gonna fucking see this with the superhero genre at some point.
Yeah,
which I think it has, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it all depends on how you. Honestly, just how you go about right. I think the main thing in this kind of like industry that people seem to ignore is like, oh, this didn't work because of this. This didn't work because of this. This movie was bad because it was 2D animated, not because it was, one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah, what you're saying is a lot of the ideology behind the Western as like a genre just kind of falls apart the more you try and bring it like through modern times. You call it like problematic or whatever, but. Is that what you're getting at? Like, could you elaborate a little bit? Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like that was a good chat about that.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss little wrap up on the Western on this next segment. To continue on to what we were discussing a little earlier.
Because I do want to come back to that.
Yeah. I think the Western is kind of something that only works, at least the ideal Western, the idea of what people think of a Western, is if you believe that lie.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that thing of like, oh, John Wayne's a hero and stuff like that. And
if you read that guy's personal life section on Wikipedia, but I'm saying all that information, that's all out there. And you could chalk a lot of that up to like, obviously, like the availability of information in that age and the popularization of obviously like the news, television, not I mean outside of like newspapers, fucking whatnot, but like that access to that information became so much more readily available that I think a lot, and this also ties into obviously what happened with Vietnam and a lot of the realization the American people was having about their government and about like the way things were, is that a lot of that wasn't necessarily true.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think I wonder what genre, if anything, that'll happen to like next. I can't really think of like.
I would say it's a superhero genre, but I think it's already dead.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Like it really has not had a big bump since like Endgame was kind of like their finishing, like,
yeah,
I guess for lack of a word, it was their finishing like cum shot, you know? Like,
it was their Unforgiven, essentially.
It was no, but for it to be their Unforgiven, it would have to be a deconstruction of the superhero genre. And if you want to get into that, the closest we've had to that, which is actually very interesting, is Logan, which is actually more of a modern take on, once again, a Western, which is them still taking from like obviously movies like Unforgiven and whatnot, which I thought was interesting. But it's difficult to know what kind of like, what am I trying to say? It's difficult to see what like a sort of satirical like look back on like the superhero genre it's going to look like as a movie. I don't think we've seen that yet, but I am very curious, I would say.
Okay. Hancock, maybe?
Hancock? Something like Hancock. Actually, you can kind of see that a little bit with pushback with like more edgy shows, you know, like The Boys. Like Invincible, Brightburn. Did you ever see Brightburn?
Yes.
Yeah, stuff like that. We're showing like, oh, like these superheroes aren't like all they're chalked up to be, whatever. And you know, shows like The Boys kind of take it to like the other direction, like, oh, like what if all superheroes like corporate, like evil, megalomaniacal, like fascists or whatever. And then you see something kind of like Invincible, which is, I would say, almost like a reaction to that in its own way, where it kind of shows that the real world is very bloody, and being a superhero is obviously not all it's chalked up to be, but also there's like ideals and ideas we're fighting for, and just all that.
That scene in Logan, like the beginning scene, where like, you know, after they shoot him, and he gets back up, takes out the claws and everything, just like the pain you can like feel in that scene, that like it's always hurt, but it hurts even more now.
Yeah,
and it's just
he can't heal like he used to, you know. I mean, and that's not even isolated to like Logan and that movie, where obviously, you know, they make a point of, oh, my healing factor is wearing out or whatever. But it's like every gangster, every cowboy, every outlaw, they all reach that point eventually, and this is kind of inevitably what that sort of lifestyle will lead to, and that's the part that they don't show you in the movies, except obviously in deconstructions like this
and The Searchers. You know,
which I've not seen. What are your thoughts on that?
So there's a scene in The Searchers that I was shown in film school where basically John Wayne's character basically gets the I think some girl is like taken, and he gets her back from the Native Americans, who are seen as savages in that movie, from what I remember. And at the very end, like, they bring her back, but he's not allowed to go into the house with the rest of them, because it's basically sort of like saying that, like, after everything he's been through, the type of like person he is now, he can no longer return to the point he was at the start, because you were forever changed by.
It's kind of making a point where, like, oh, like you can't be that guy anymore.
Yeah,
you can't.
Loss of innocence.
And that's a big theme that you saw with the revisionist westerns.
Yeah,
the spaghetti westerns that you saw in like the late '60s.
Yeah,
early '70s. I love the spaghetti westerns, to be honest. And I love the ones they talk about in, or they kind of like make a point of in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You know, like the ones that they kind of fake put together, like Rick Dalton or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, what are the names of those? Like,
I don't remember a single one of them.
I mean, a big one right there is obviously a Django with Sergio Corbucci.
Yes, if you can
kind of
see Django right there.
That's kind of what Leonardo DiCaprio's character is lampooning in those movies, Rick Dalton, I believe. And I would highly recommend Django if you haven't seen it as well.
All right. And I would highly recommend listening more episodes of his podcast, as well as my podcast.
Please do, yes. We're on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but you can find us on Instagram at Let 'em Watch Pod. TikTok is at let.m.watch.podcast. I'll have to ask our co-host Tristan about that. And you can also find us, obviously, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. If you're a fucking weirdo and you listen to stuff on that. I didn't even know Amazon Music had like a Spotify-esque app.
I keep on getting like notifications, like, because I use Amazon Prime. They're like, you have unused Prime benefits, and I just keep thinking they're gonna keep going unused. I'm not using.
No. We had 2 like Greek viewers who used like Amazon Music. It was just sort of this thing, I suppose, where like it costs nothing to just upload it via Spotify for creators. Also did that app, so I figured on the off chance of someone listening to it via there, that they would also be able to have access. So like whatever avenues I could find to get more people listening.
Maybe I should do that.
Have you ever used like Spotify for creators? Or?
Yeah, that's my main thing. I use Spotify creators, and then I also like I'll have it on Apple Podcasts too.
Are you on YouTube?
Yes.
Perfect.
This video episode will be on YouTube and Spotify.
Is this your first video episode?
No, I've done a video before, but never in this way. So that's what makes this one special.
Like little setting.
It's literally just been like over Riverside, which is what I've been using since then.
Kind of like Zoom calls and whatnot, or
pretty much. Riverside's like better with Zoom calls though.
Interesting.
So yeah, but I think this is
if you want, we can wrap it up here. I'm happy to do like a free form for a little bit. I leave that up to you, to be honest.
Yeah, I say we wrap it up. I think, keep it short and simple.
We've had some good stuff here.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with it.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick. I very much enjoyed you agreeing to do this podcast, this weird form. I agreed happy that you were able to get this logo.
I swear to God, we spent like 30 minutes just trying to get this fucking logo on the screen.
Yeah, watch the video so you know what logo we're talking about. And thank you again for being on here. Thank you to everyone listening. Hope you'll like this new format. We'll try to do it for maybe one more episode this month, but we'll see.
Happy to be here. Happy to be invited. And obviously, hope to be on again whenever you have me.
And go watch a Western. And
my podcast. Go watch Let 'em watch.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye.